All right, here we are. Welcome to the Ordinary American. Elon was right. Doge was right. And in related news, Nancy Pelosi is concerned that the Republicans are stealing the Democrats' election corruption schemes. Welcome to the Ordinary American. I'm your host, Paul Sarkis. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Grateful for the watches, the views. Please like, subscribe. I'm really terrible at mentioning these things, but like, subscribe, follow, pardon me, pass it on to other people so they can find it. We are fighting the battle between the left and the right. We believe it's a spiritual battle. This show is anti-leftist. Always a hat tip to David Horowitz, the great late David Horowitz. Anti-leftist, which means we're anti-democrat. We believe that voting Democrat is breaking yourself into jail. We want to help you understand and see the error in your ways if you're voting for Democrats, and how you don't have to like every policy the Republicans put out. Honestly, you don't even have to like Trump. I love Trump. I think he's doing a great job. This is a MAGA show, but you don't have to. You just have to see that voting for Democrats is breaking you into jail and breaking other people into jail without their consent. So that's what we do on the show. Appreciate you being here. Okay, I titled the show today, Elon was right / Doge was right. I remember when Doge was announced and when Elon first stepped in there, I think the expectation was that within a week, 10 days, maybe a couple of months, all the corruption in government would be cleared up and everything would be great. And I don't know if that came from a misunderstanding about how bad the corruption is, or a misunderstanding about how easy it would be to clean it up. And those are two different things. It could be super bad, but very easy to clean up. It could be not very bad, but hard to clean up. But it can also be very bad and very hard to clean up. And Elon was right. When he left his internship or whatever it was that he was doing, he did a bunch of shows and he said the corruption is staggering. And I think you could even see in his eyes, he was a little bit sort of shocked. And he said it's hard to understand how much. Well, holy cannoli, are we finding out how much? Just in the last few days, we're finding out about the corruption just in California. The great Nick Shirley, James O'Keefe, Mudrucker, and others, have been going through and finding it all. Minnesota, Massachusetts, now California. But California, no surprise, has been a real whopper. I was just reading that in Medi-Cal alone, which is California Medicaid, $12 billion a year to illegals. We're told that's not going on. $12 billion is going on. And estimated, whenever I hear estimated, my left goes high, because that feels like a trick. 50 billion. So between illegals, which are not happening, and fraud, it's 62 billion. The entire budget is almost 200 billion. That's a whole nother discussion. 200 billion in one state. To me, that's kind of like the red flag, like maybe somebody should check it. What were some other crazy fraud stats from California? Well, the unemployment fraud got so bad at one point over the last few years in the Mussolini regime that there were more unemployment applications or submissions than there were adults in all of California. How there isn't a system that would sort of run a few basic checks just to get like crazy levels of fraud, and that would be one of them, is beyond me. But what we find out is all of whatever systems did exist, and there weren't many, were shut off. This gets to what Elon and Doge said early on. At the federal level, 4.7 trillion a year in outflows from the Treasury General account that were untraceable. I say this a lot, 4.7 trillion, it is a massive number. Why shouldn't we believe that that's all fraud? I mean, is there somebody in there that's actually doing the right thing? I guess. But if they are, it's a mistake, or it's the minority. The US taxpayer has been fleeced for decades. The amount of money in total that has been stolen from the US taxpayer is probably bigger than the GDP for all of the rest of the world combined over that same period. That's my guess. Trillions and trillions and trillions. It's trillions in 1 year in America. When Elon was on, I think it was Rogan, and his phrase was, "It's a bank shot," and he was describing how the fake name on Social Security banks into other programs. And then those other programs get funded because the Social Security number acts, as he put it, as a de facto national ID. So if you have one, you're legit. And he was saying trillions. And he was saying that once they have that Social Security number, it gets funneled through all kinds of other things. Go back to the unemployment in California. There were thousands of people in California jails getting paid for unemployment, death row inmates. There were people in like Romania and Eastern European countries getting paid. And Stephen Miller shared with us the other day the fact that at the federal level, there are no checks and balances. Every submission gets approved. No one's checking. That meshes with the 4.7 trillion of untraceable. There is nothing other than the honor system that's happening with our tax dollars, both at the state and federal level. Trillions. If we cleaned it up, it is 100% certain, 100%, that we would not need income tax any longer in this country. Probably not property tax either. And as I've said before, if they're just going to print and steal whatever they want, which is what they're doing, why do they also have to hurt us by taking our money through taxes? It's like what did I call it? It's like abuse as a sport. Stop taking our money. Don't tax us. Just print it all. You're doing it anyways. Actually, if you didn't take our tax money and you just did your fraud, what would the difference be? Honestly. We would have more money, which would help the economy and help Americans to grow, build things, do stuff. Less input from the government. Elon was right. Doge was right. Doge may not yet have been able to come through with this massive amount of savings that I think that they will over time. J.D. Vance is now in charge of that task force, and they're going to go and see what they can do. Let's hope they can get rid of it. Because honestly, listen, you know me. I'm a big fan of Bitcoin. And one of the cases for Bitcoin is the money printing. But if we can't get control of that crazy, uncontrollable theft, bad outcomes are coming. And even Bitcoin isn't going to fix that. You just can't have this small amount of the population, the elected class, elites and experts, all three, stealing from the bulk of society like this forever. It can't go on. Elon was right. And you know, it drives me bananas to hear some people, particularly in my Bitcoin world, who just want to criticize Elon and criticize Doge, and they didn't do anything. It is incredibly difficult, as we're finding out, to do anything in the government. The fact that Trump gets so much done is not an indication that it's easy. It's an indication that he is amazing. And he has a lifetime of doing things that other people said couldn't be done. The Woman Rink. You know how hard it is to build skyscrapers in New York City? All the people with their hand out, all the potential corruption, all the people who don't want you to build it because they want to put something next door or something. I mean, he's able to get stuff done in the federal government like no one else before them. But everywhere we look, RFK Jr. tries to change the board for the vaccines. What happens? Some crazy judge in Boston says he can't do that. That's almost certainly unconstitutional. We didn't elect the judge. We elected Trump, who put in legally RFK Jr. to the head of HHS, and the president has say over the executive branch. Boy, I couldn't get that out. Let me try that again. We elected the president. He has say over the executive branch. HHS is in the executive branch. Judges can't stop him from doing that any more than judges can tell him he has to put in a vaccine. Rubio, slight detour. Rubio gave a great short speech yesterday, and he was saying something similar. These judges can't tell him he has to negotiate with some foreign country or has to accept terms. That's not how it works. We didn't elect the judge. Throw in President Bukele from El Salvador. El Salvador went from being an awful, crime-ridden, poverty-driven country to one of the safest, I think it's the safest country in the world, beautiful, growing their economy. He says it wasn't putting the criminals away, although that was part of it. He says it was putting away the judges because the corrupt judges were stopping all of the reforms. So he was able to remove them. That's the case here. So when people want to criticize Doge, take a moment and think about how hard it is. The Republican Senate won't go on recess. Why? Because that would allow Trump to get his recess appointments in for his cabinet. He doesn't have a full cabinet. He's the only president ever whose own party won't go on recess. They keep on doing these pro forma sessions, so they're technically in session. So he never gets recess appointments. Listen, he is a pro. He understands power better than anybody else. He understands how to work with them. I don't have that burden, so I can criticize these guys, and I do. He's smart. He's doing the right thing. He's working out deals. But boy, it is difficult. So whatever Doge hasn't been able to actually change, hopefully, J.D. Vance is going to, because Elon and Doge were right. So much corruption. And we haven't even talked about the election corruption, which we're going to get to. We're also going to get to Iran, and then we're going to go over a few other small things. We're going to do some stuff for Holy Week, because it is Holy Thursday. Okay, I want to remind everybody, as I try to do lately, because I think it will be helpful, they aren't a sponsor, All Family Pharmacy. Just spell it out, All Family Pharmacy. I guess if they're ever a sponsor, I'll put it on the screen right now. They're not. Get your ivermectin. Why do I mention that? Because more and more we're finding out that ivermectin, fenbendazole, and membendazole can help cure cancers and very many other things. It's very inexpensive to buy. You don't even need a doctor. Just go on All Family Pharmacy. Technically, there's a form you have to go to, and technically you're doing all the things you need to do, but you're not going to go to a doctor's office. I highly recommend it. Who am I? I'm just an ordinary American in front of a great flag. I love God, my family, and my country. I'm not a doctor, but I want to live in a world where we can deal with these deadly diseases like cancer with a pill like ivermectin. All Family Pharmacy. All right. I'm going to go, before we get off corruption, to the election corruption. And I want to remind everybody about the corruption flywheel. What's the corruption flywheel, you ask? If you haven't seen previous episodes, we've talked about it quite a bit. Corruption flywheel. An election is corrupted, people get in. Now they have power, now they have a say over our money. They steal our money, they use it to bribe people to get more power, they enrich themselves, they go to the next election, which is now corrupted through that bribery and enriching themselves, they get elected, which means they gain more power, and then they do it all over again. If we took out the theft, which is bribery, I'll explain that in a second, and the enrichment, the best example of that I can give you is the insider trading. Many of the congressmen and senators make more money from trading like a hedge fund than they do from their salary from serving us in Congress. Serving us is a joke. Sarcasm alert. Serving themselves. They make more money there. So, first, the elections. Act Blue, $18.6 billion have been funneled illegally through Act Blue for Democrats. You can see the videos online on my X, The Ord American. On my thread, you'll see most of what we talk about in there. You can also send us an email, theordinaryamerican@proton.me, and we can send you in the right direction. There are tons of videos of people doing research and going up to somebody's house and saying, oh, hi, Sam Shit the Rag Picker. How are you? By the way, in that case, that swear word is a proper noun. It's a name. So it's technically not a swear. I try not to swear. All right? Hey, we found that you've been giving 11,000 donations through Act Blue for like $3 a piece. Is that you? And the person said, I don't know what that is. I've never done that before. This is how they're getting money. When we hear that the CIA found evidence that Ukraine was funneling some of the money they got from us, the taxpayer, back to the Democrats, this is one of the ways they do it. It's all corruption, the corruption flywheel. Corrupt the election in some way, get in and get more power, and then bribe people. How do they bribe people? Go to the health insurance companies. When Obamacare got passed, look at the stock prices of the health insurance companies. Up. Why? They were getting billions of our dollars, our tax dollars, funneled right to them. So those insurance companies became largely Democrat voters. Obamacare was 100% party line vote. So they become bribed. And it's not just the people at the top, it's the people in the middle, less so the people at the bottom, because they realize that their stock options and their salaries are tied to this huge amount of money coming from the government. I better vote for the government, the Democrats. Oops, corrupted. When we see in New York City that 20% of the employees in New York City are working for nonprofits funded by the taxpayer, corruption. They're bribed. Good people, just like you and I, ordinary Americans. Some of them might be related to us, our wives, our husbands, our cousins, our fathers, our mothers, our brothers and sisters. They're just trying to do good, but government corrupts them. That's the corruption flywheel. Doge was right. Elon was right. There is so much corruption. And if we don't get a hold of it, this is why this Save America Act is so important. We have to break this corruption flywheel some way. One way, wouldn't break it totally, but is the Save America Act. They should absolutely get rid of the filibuster or make it be the talking filibuster. That is not a lot to ask. We elected Trump to put in these policies. This is not advise and consent the way it's described in the Constitution. This is control and prevent. I like that. And that's what's happening. The 17th Amendment gave us this monster called the U.S. Senate. We should repeal the 17th Amendment. The founders said that the Senate should be appointed by the state legislatures. They shouldn't have 6-year terms. They shouldn't go down there and stay forever. How old everywhere you turn, there's another person who's like infirmed or something, and they're still in the Senate. You know, who was it? Barbara Boxer before, it was McConnell. I can't remember all the other people. They stay there forever. Ted Kennedy, forever, and they die there. That is not the way the founders designed it. So this is all under corruption. Darkness. All right? But Trump is still getting a ton done. He really is. I say this all the time. If you've been voting Democrat, you're breaking yourself into jail. You don't have to like Trump. There are people who say, well, I'll hold my nose and I'll vote Republican. Whatever. You just have to see this and say, that's not all right. We pay our tax dollars, which gets funneled over to Ukraine. They send $200 million back to the Democrats. The CIA knows about it and does nothing. That's corruption. Why do the Democrats want birthright citizenship? Go back to yesterday's show. It's Edward the Longshanks. He wanted to get rid of the Scots from Scotland. He said, if I can't get rid of them, I'll just breed them out. Birthright citizenship is breeding us out. We just saw, I think it was in California, over 500, what do they call it? Birth tourism companies. The fact that there's a industry called birth tourism tells us that this is not right. The founding fathers never anticipated birth tourism. And the 14th Amendment does not say anybody can come over and do this. This is all a scam of the left. It's all corruption. Edward the Longshanks would have loved this. If I can't get them out, I'll breed them out. 500. We're going to find out that there's probably another 500. Birth tourism. This is insane. Anyways, corruption. Okay? I want to transition now and I want to talk about Iran. Trump gave a speech last night. On the whole, great speech. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. It wasn't all that long. Kind of, unique for him. He sort of laid it out. He did some very Trumpian things. What I want to talk about is that it's been 3 days, if I'm remembering correctly, since this situation started. He says we're going to be out of there 2 to 3 weeks. So let's hold him to that. So what would that be? Let's say somewhere between now and the 21st of April. Let's hold him to it and see where he is. He's encouraging the Europeans and the others to come over and take on the responsibility of opening Hormuz. He says that the Iranians have asked for a ceasefire. He says he'll think about it if they open up the straits. Until then, bombs away. Great. All perfect. He understands how to manage the situation. All of these people saying he doesn't have a plan. Look at him. It's falling apart. It's been 33 days. It is not falling apart. Oil is when I came in here, it was $111 a barrel. I think it was up to as high as 113. Yeah, that's kind of high. But it was for 3.5 years under Obama. It vacillated between like $110 and $120. By the way, it also was down, I think, in the $50 range, which it will be again. Which it will be again under Trump. So it's uncomfortable. Well, it sucks. Nobody likes this. Okay, I have a very good friend. I've mentioned him before. Fake name, Ned. He lives over in the Middle East and he sits there every night hearing the bombs, seeing things in the distance blow up. And he's got his daughters and his wife in the house. That's scary. So it's not good. What I want to bring up today is Trump's national security strategy. I've mentioned it in the past. You can find it in my thread. To answer the question to people of, does he have a plan? He has a plan and he wrote it down. He wrote it down and he published it in November of 2025. You can go on the White House website and find it. It's 30 something pages. So as far as those kinds of things go, not very long. I'm going to try to give you a brief summary. Pardon me. A brief summary, not a full review, just some of the highlights. As always with this stuff, Promethean action, unbelievable analysis. They've been spot on. So what is his plan? First, no nuclear capabilities for a country like Iran who's crying death to America, death to Israel. You can't trust that they don't mean it. You have to assume they mean it. Okay? No nukes, period. So that's a baseline. He said yesterday, he set them back 10 to 15 years. Why does he say it like that? Because if they have intent to keep on trying to build them, we're going to have to keep on going back and getting rid of them. But 10 or 15 years right now. That's one. Second, no more, international bodies. No more UNs, no more global this. It's sovereign nation to sovereign nation. This is what he did over in Africa, and what was it, 7 or 8 of the, whatever we call them, civil wars or conflicts he resolved in his first year in office. Commerce, trade, and economics settle these conflicts, which he's been doing. So he sees a strong domestic economy is critical to foreign policy. He wants to reindustrialize the United States. We can't be a society of food delivery companies. We have to make things. As a side note, the great Peter St. Onge, Professor St. Onge, he has a post today about how China's economy is largely just delivery and whatnot. It's not really strong. That's not the kind of jobs we want. Side note to the side note, there's a growing voice of people that are starting to say that China doesn't really have 1.3 billion or how many people they say they do. And some people are saying it's closer to 500 million. And the theory, without getting into it too much, is that after so long with the one-child policy, they just couldn't have 1.3 billion. They didn't have that many people to begin with, if everybody had one child. Just something to notice. Their job economy is service economy. We want to reindustrialize the economy here. Manufacturing. Okay, that leads us to trade and tariffs. Trump knows that in order to do manufacturing, we got to build plants and things, and that takes a lot of money. We can't all do it domestically. So what does he do? Puts in the tariffs, says no tariff for you if you produce your product in America. He just sent out a Truth Social yesterday or the day before, I think it was, congratulating Nissan, who's building a plant and going to build, I think, many, if not most of their cars in the US. Now, what does that do? Well, it certainly brings jobs to our country, tax revenue, etc. But what does it do? It draws the nations closer together because they're reliant on us and we like that they're investing here. And then we do a reciprocal deal of oil or gas or something. So it's a productive flywheel, not the corruption flywheel. That's another part of his national strategic, national security strategy. Okay. He also knows that you have to have borders. You see the Trump influence around the world, as you see in Europe, country after country after country, saying we got to get rid of all these immigrants that we've let in. This is not okay. Trump understands you have to have boundaries. Immigration, we've stopped essentially entirely, which is great. And we are going to see more and more, as we get rid of the illegals, the positive benefits to our economy. Along with stopping immigration and having real borders, he understands that you cannot allow the drug trafficking to come into the country. And you have to treat it like it's a war, which is why he's blowing up these drug boats. From what I'm reading, we've cut the fentanyl coming into the country in half. That's not enough, but it's a heck of a start. So, reindustrialize, close the borders, do trade deals, put on tariffs because people are cheating in trade, Listen, I'm as much a Milton Friedman guy as anybody. Free trade. It's not free trade when every other country is robbing from us, corrupting the system, stealing from us. Do you know how much intellectual property China has stolen from us over the last 25 years? Or go look up Skolkovo in Russia, involved with the Clintons. Go look up that. See how much of our IP Hillary was willing to give away to the Russians. That's not free trade. What Trump is doing is sort of reestablishing everybody's understanding of what's going on. Reindustrialize, make stuff, form trade, put in tariffs, close the border, stop the drugs, no more international bodies, one-on-one with sovereign nations. And the last piece I'll mention, you should read the whole thing or just put it into Grok. It'll give you a 500-word summary. It's great. The last thing is the Donroe Doctrine. Hemispheres. Prioritize your hemisphere. Do deals. Why did he get rid of Maduro? Partly because we had a warrant out for his arrest. We exercised the warrant. But because we want that country to stop being a leader in the bad guy world, because he's in our hemisphere. Greenland, same thing, basically in our hemisphere. Canada's a real problem. I don't know what to do about Canada. That's Trump's problem. He's going to resolve it. Is it Alberta? Somebody's taking a vote up there to break away from the country. And who knows, could we have our most northern state be a former Canadian province? I don't know. Could. We'll see. This is all to say, Trump has a plan. He's implementing the plan. It sucks to try to root out this last, essentially, super bad guy. It's working. We've gotten rid of 672 down the depth chart on the leadership board. Let's wait and see how it goes. If after 2 or 3 weeks, we aren't really moving out, there'll be a different conversation. My suspicion is we're going to see the price of oil back down in the 70 to 80 range fairly quickly, and probably by the end of the year, maybe back down into the 50 range. It's a commodity and it moves. Okay, he has a plan. All right. I mentioned Bukele. Oh, this is something I have to mention. And there are so many jokes here. Victor Davis Hanson, the great Victor Davis Hanson. He is a professor and writer and opinion person, a really brilliant guy. He was just out, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, with a video where he was saying that Fang, the Chinese spy who compromised Congressperson Swalwell while he was on the Foreign Relations Committee, tried to get to Victor Davis Hanson. And he says that it was obvious what she was trying to do. And he didn't fall for it and she didn't come back. But he was mocking Swalwell to think, who would fall for this? And then what do we find out? Swalwell's got a long list of former employees who say he was inappropriate sexually with them. He made them sign NDAs. And we should all find out how much of that slush fund of our tax dollars used by the elected class to handle their sexual harassment cases did he use? That's another one of those corruption things. They have a slush fund of our tax dollars that they get to use to settle those sexual harassment cases. They bear no responsibility. Swalwell was on the Foreign Relations Committee. What did he give Fang? I took a class in college from a guy named Ray Klein. It was called the CIA. He was an early builder of the CIA. The class, I'm old, it was in the late 80s. Me and one of my close friends. And all he did was tell stories. And you had to write like one paper. It was a graduate level class. We were undergraduates, but we were super interested in it, and it was a lot of fun. He said to us back then, despite the technology, despite all the sophistication, the best intelligence we get from sex, booze, and drugs. Without an exception, he said. The best intelligence, sex, booze, and drugs. And you can see that in Swalwell. Obviously, he was bamboozled by her. And obviously, she got something from him. I don't know what. He's still a congressman. By the way, the Democrats didn't even take him off of the Foreign Relations Committee when this came out. Excuse me? Okay, I just had to mention that because Victor Davis Hanson met her, described that she came in his office, obviously trying to wield her, her ways and compromise him in some way, and it did not work. Unbelievable. All right. Let's get to Holy Week. A couple of Holy Week adjacent stories. I didn't cover it the first few days it came out because I was really a little confused about it. The Chicago Bulls released an injured player, cut him, named Jaden Ivey, I think his name is. And they released him because he said some things critical about Pride Month. And I thought, wow. First of all, I can't believe that they can get away with that. I imagine there's got to be a lawsuit or something. But what is the NBA doing? You allowed a team to cut a player? I get that it's Chicago, but are your fans going to be upset with Jaden Ivey because he expressed a spiritual view about Pride Week? Really? Or are there some corporate overlords that you're really trying to impress? I don't understand that from a business perspective. That seems insane to me. I don't see that there's a Christian month. Why not? A Pride Month? Anyways, I had to mention that on Holy Week. Jaden Ivey, I don't know you. I hope it works out. You're injured. That sucks. You all know how I feel. I think the NBPA should decertify and start to take over more control of the business of the NBA. And I think that they could. And this is, by the way, one of the reasons. You shouldn't be able to, I'm pretty sure you can't fire people because of their religious views. It's insane. I'm going to get off on a tangent. I can feel myself because I feel so strongly that the NBA players should decertify. Decertify, bros. Get rid of the union structure. Keep the close-knit association that you all have. The union structure does not work for the players. It works for the owners. Why? Because they can lock you out as long as you're in that union. And if they can lock you out, they're always going to be able to outlast you. Once you decertify, and it's not, it's not easy. You got to go through a process. Once you decertify, then they cannot lock you out. They can shut the league down, but they can't lock you out. And you can then start filing lawsuits, challenging the draft, challenging the salary cap and the aprons on wages and other things. The NFLPA made their biggest gains when they decertified, filed suit, and it was resolved. NBA players should seriously consider that, especially now that Jaden Ivey got booted from the Chicago Bulls in a stupid move. Okay, that's a little preamble to Holy Week, but let me see if I can collect myself here. Tonight's Holy Thursday. As you know, this is a spiritual battle. That's how we see it. We need more people more connected to God. The path isn't less. The founding fathers built our country based around the notion that the system was designed for religious and moral people. Their words, a religious and moral people. A religious and moral people. The religion they're talking about is Christianity, the Judeo-Christian principles and values of the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. Our problems in America largely stem from removing God from society. As I say all the time, the greatest life hack anyone can do is to pray, develop a relationship with God. If you're rolling your eyes right now, then you definitely should be praying. It will improve your life immeasurably. This whole week is about Jesus sacrificing for us. He knew what was coming. Sometimes the weight of that, he knew what he was going to face, and he was willing to come down out of love for us, for me personally. I don't have to think of it as for everybody, although it is, but it's for everyone individually. He loves me, and he sacrificed for me. He took on the punishment so that I could be forgiven for my sins. That's a big weight. Holy Thursday is the Last Supper, when he washes the feet of his disciples, and he tells them somebody was going to betray me, and then he tells John, you're going to deny me 3 times. So I'll be going to Mass tonight. I'm going to pray. I think when you start praying, you're going to find that your life gets better. It is not going to solve all your problems, but it's going to give you a different relationship with your problems. I listen to the great Father Mike Schmitz. He's not a sponsor. I wish he were, but he's not. But I love that guy, and I don't even know him. Never met him before, but he's in my ears every day. Feels like a brother. He's got such wisdom and such a great way about him. I can hear him in ways that I haven't heard other priests in the past. So I highly recommend him. But there's other, Halo has some great options. And nowadays you can just go on Rumble or YouTube and start looking up. There's some great Protestant pastors that I've seen online. So I encourage everybody on Holy Week, start praying. And by the way, I say this all the time. If you're an atheist, pray. I wasted a lot of time what I was really doing was avoiding having a relationship with God. And the tool I was using to avoid was that I could come up with reasons to be angry or to not believe. And, some of them might have had some validity or not. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. They were avoidance exercises on my part. Once I put all those bags down and just realized I don't have to answer all those questions. I just have to talk to them. Then it was much better. And then I developed a relationship. Okay, Holy Week. Holy Week. And let's pray also, because Christians are still the most persecuted group of people anywhere on the planet. You can hardly go a week without seeing some mass slaughter of Christians somewhere in the world. It is awful. Okay. I am not good at giving you all the call to action stuff, but please like, subscribe, and follow. We're on X, The Ord American. You can email us at theordinaryamerican@proton.me. We're on YouTube and Rumble, 2 p.m., Monday through Friday. We put out some shorts. We did a Saturday 15-minute video last week. We might do another one this week. Send in your requests if you've heard something. You know my position on Bitcoin. We did it on Bitcoin. You can go watch it. That's an endless topic of importance. It's freedom money. So we're always happy to talk about that. But there should be other subjects too, and we might address some of those in some 15-minute videos. All right. Thanks for joining in. Really appreciate it. Hope to see you here tomorrow, 2 p.m.